Hello, and welcome to part 3 of the Forever War. You'll recall in the last episode that our recruits were finishing up their first combat mission at Epsilon Auriga, and were returning to Earth for some well-deserved R&R. For this episode's visuals, I'll be orbiting around the Earth. Though they'd only been out a few months, due to special relativity and time dilation, their first combat mission lasted a whole 10 years, and the return to Earth, dodging now superior enemy ships, lasted another 17 years. They returned to Earth to a hero's welcome, the first combat veterans back, in fact, but the Earth of 2024 is not what it used to be. The Earth is pretty much in a state of anarchy. Years of war have decimated the world's economies, and most people are unemployed. The common currency is kilocalories, used to measure food energy. Jobs are scarce and traded on a black market of sorts. Everyone goes out either armed or in the presence of a armed bodyguard. Our main character goes to visit his mother, now elderly, in Washington. His father passed away in the intervening years. He learns from her the state of the world. She travels with a bodyguard at all times and had worked a black market job for a while before subletting it to someone else in a sort of pyramid scheme. The main character buys a gun for protection. It's a 6-shooter that fires these flechettes. I'm kind of thinking of the ones that the Mandalorian fires from his wrist, if you've seen that show. And they're quite destructive. While deciding what to do with his life, he gets in touch with a fellow veteran, a woman from his unit, and possible love interest. Their relationship is complicated, though, by the fact that male and female soldiers were intimate with each other and encouraged to be so. This caused a bit of a stir among readers when the story was released. I read a letter to the editor of Analog magazine, written a few months after the first installment, and it was an irate father complaining about the sexual content of the story that his teenage son was reading. Now, the story doesn't go into any details about any intimate acts. It just mentions that the soldiers were intimate, but that seemed to be too much for some of the audience of the early 70s, it appears. So the two young veterans go on a trip around the world. This is cut short, however, after a mugging in Paris, where our main protagonist fires his weapon. Then they return to the States. Now, this following chapter of the story that I'm about to recount didn't appear in the first editions of the Forever War. It was left out, perhaps for being a non sequitur or for pacing purposes. It had neither been serialized in Analog magazine with the other sections, and in fact was published in an entirely different magazine called Amazing Science Fiction in November 1975, a whole year after the book had been released. It contained a bit of a repeat of the Return to Earth story, but also included a tale about the two veterans defending a farmstead from marauders. Oh, there's a hurricane off the coast of Florida. Though it's December in game, and hurricanes in December almost never happen, maybe the climate is different in this year. Those who work on the farms are often people with outstanding warrants who are hiding out and working almost as indentured servants, but even then their quality of life appears to be better than for those in the cities. The confrontation with marauders is a bit like those Chuck Norris or Steven Seagal movies, where a soldier returning from war uses skills learned in war to protect family and friends. There's one memorable line after they see the marauders that they killed, and it goes, "Death is so much neater in space." This event shakes our two soldiers, and they decide that the Earth no longer suits them. They decide to accept an offer from the military to be reinstated as training officers in non-combat roles on the Moon. This, however, is countermanded within hours of them starting their new posts, and they will be returning to combat missions in my next installment out in the large Magellanic Cloud. Now, since we can't go outside the galaxy in this space simulation, I'll have to find a way to visualize that for you. I have a few ideas in mind. With that, I bid you farewell, and until next time, 07.